Please stand for pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Guest. We're in the room, we have Daryl. Melissa, sorry.
What's your last name?
Derby.
Then Joey over the corner. So Melissa, I know why you're here, and Daryl's here for the same, just to talk about it, so you can start off if you would like.
Okay. Andy and I just purchased the old Kidder Farm property, and we wanted to propose to the select board on getting municipal water and sewer run to our property. Our plans from there, if we were allowed to have the municipal water run there, is to put in our own pump station once it's on our land and take care of the rest. But we just need the hookup run to that parcel. For our future ideas for the property are to eventually move our business down there, our sugar house plus our canning facility, possible retail shop in the future, and then we have some other ideas of other outdoor recreational plans, but we're not set in stone with that just yet, but those are our plans for that. And because of our business and it being in food safety, we wanted to have the option of municipal water and sewer. We don't really have any timeline for our infrastructure yet because we need to kind of have our water and sewer and our electrical set in place before we decide that timeline. But yeah.
Like size of the operation, like what are you thinking?
So I asked Andy about that because I had a feeling you would ask that, but he's at a softball game, our daughter's first district softball game tonight, so he has more of the numbers. I'm not sure because he's drawn up all those numbers, but.
Where's it gonna be? Is it gonna be right across from Ward and Kim Manley's?
Yeah,
Field there?
Well, either there or in the backfield, but we would just need it run. He kind of drew me a diagram. So this is 105.
Yeah.
And that's where, this is the driveway for K-Tech, and that's where the water and sewer hookup is currently. That's the border patrol station, and then our property starts approximately there. And he said that it would probably make most sense to run it along 105, and then it would have to be cut across diagonally to 105. And we would put our pump station there, but from there on, we would handle everything else, if that makes sense.
Is there gonna be any issues crossing the state highway?
No, it'd have to be direct board. Because even with that, you still gotta get permits from the state to do that, which, you know, me and Andy have already talked about. And then, you know, the direct board and everything, and then once you got across the street, it's pretty much a straight shot up along K-Tech's side of the road. You know what I mean? But like I say, it's just a matter of state permits to the direct board and everything. Mm-hmm. They usually don't have a problem with that. If you wanted to cut across their road, then they have an issue. But, you know what I mean, it's not a big deal.
You just shoot onto the road, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the water hookup is actually already on that side of the road, right in front of Homeland Security. There is a blow off, which is the very end of the 8-inch line. Because the way the line comes up 105 to Memorial Drive is the north driveway, just beyond the north driveway is where it tees and goes across underneath of 105 around Memorial Drive. The last hydrant on Memorial Drive by their trucking driveway is a dead end. Then it comes up in front of Homeland Security and dead ends right there before their south driveway, and there's a blow off right there.
So you could tap in on the same
You
side
tap
of the
in
road?
right there, because that's where, we were looking at extending the line to East Berkshire at one given point.
So that part of the line is our property, town's property?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing is you would have to get into is cutting across their driveway. You know, to either bore it, or if they are okay with cutting the pavement and just repaving over their driveway, it would be cheaper to do it that way than it would be to direct bore it, but, you know, I mean, it's one way or the other.
He had mentioned to me that he knew that they had a pump station on their side of the road, but
They
he
have,
wanted to kind of avoid having to share anything.
They-
Just if anything were to break, we'd rather just fix our own
Yep.
stuff rather than having to debate back and forth whose percentage is what, and
their pump station is on the north end of the building, and it goes up, their force main goes up the driveway.
Yeah.
Goes underneath the 105 and ties in, there's two manholes in the Ava Maria property. The second manhole, there's a raised manhole and then another manhole, both of them are just inspection manholes. The second manhole north is where their 2-inch line connects into the force main going down 105.
So they
So-
could, so they could still have their own pump station, it sounds like what you're saying.
Well, they have their pump station, but what you would be doing is tying into their line before it goes underneath the 105. So then you're getting into check valves and stuff like that, so you're not backfeeding their
Yeah, yeah.
system and all that, and you still would have to get their permission because it's
Yeah.
their line.
But ultimately, you could still have your, they could still have their own pump station if they wanted.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, they could.
Yes.
But there's a water manhole, a valve pit right along 105 on that side and everything, so you gotta kinda look at what's in the way of running up that side of 105 to tie into their line, plus it's only a 2-inch line that goes across the road. So, you
Makes
know, I
more
mean,
sense to be on the side of border patrol and come up that side with the, it's an 8-inch pipe over there, you said, right?
for a water main, yes, for the sewer, no.
Sewer, no.
You know, I know, me and Andy talked about, he was talking about putting a 4-inch in to go underneath the road and everything to go up to handle, you know, so, you know, handle the volume and stuff like that a little better than their 2-inch line, because if, you know, it would just, and it would be better off to go up that side, the other K-Tech side of the road than it would be the Homeland Security side.
Okay.
And to back up to your question, I don't have, just for the size of the business and stuff, or size of the usage and everything, I don't really have exact numbers, but between moving our sugar house there, during sugaring season, and then being food, products being packaged in our facility, we would be using a substantial amount of water, and obviously we would be metered. And we would obviously pay for that as everyone else is billed for, but we would be using a substantial amount of water.
Is our capacity,
Well, that's the thing we really need to look at is how much volume of water you're talking about. Because during those months, you gotta think about, February and March and April are tough months because of the lagoon being frozen. But also, come April when it thaws out, March, end of March, beginning of April, when things start to thaw out, that's when our heaviest flow is on the lagoon. So it could put us close to our permit for the month as far as water flow.
So I think what Darrell is concerned about is, are you planning to discharge all your concentrated water into the system, or are you going to just your cleaning stuff, just the,
I think it would be mostly just our cleaning stuff, because we would recycle our permeate water to clean evaporators and equipment, do RO
and then the excess
washes.
would be,
And then the excess of that would,
just be.
I believe, go
Right.
back into the system, but we do use quite a bit to recirculate into cleaning.
So I think we do need, And Daryl has indicated we'll probably need to know,
Yeah,
get some estimates on volume.
Andy would
Here's-
have all of those numbers.
Had a
Um,
friend of mine, Paul Orlander, who is a consultant for the state and stuff. He also has sugaring operations. There's some stuff that he came up with for Andy to check into, or information that to look into for, you know, for the whole operation
okay,
and everything. So, you know, that would help the town out to make a decision on
okay.
what they want to do.
What do you think the most economical way to do it, or the easiest way to do it is?
As far as
Getting them connected to the system.
what he's got planned, I think is the most feasible and everything. Like I say, we can, you know, the water hookup will be shortened up. He won't have to have he won't have to do a double bore to do water and sewer, because the water's already on that side of the road. And there's no equipment to share or anything like that with Homeland Security. That's all ours. You know, so that would help him out in that aspect.
If I understood that drawing correct, they're gonna tap in and then go down in front of K-Tech and then cross the road? And where does K-Tech get its water from? And where does that dead end?
It's on the other side of the building. It's
On the backside?
it's on the Ava Maria side is where their water comes in.
Okay. So you'd be tapping into the same spot?
No,
No, you wouldn't be.
no, they're on the loop that goes around Memorial Drive.
Okay,
And there's the dead end, you know, the end of the line that goes right in front of Homeland Security.
They're just going to the dead end side, right? Extend it.
Yeah.
that's the north side.
Is that basically what the border patrol did, is extend it off from that?
No, I think it was already there because from what I understand, the original plan was when they built Memorial Drive that it was supposed to be a loop that went all the way around and reconnected back into each other. They stopped with the loop where that last hydrant is on Memorial Drive on Rye's side because of the ledge that's there. So the town didn't want to pay to have it blasted to put the, because at that time, from what I understand, there was no option of being able to direct bore 8-inch line through that, whereas now they have that ability to do that and everything. So it dead ends right at the south driveway, Homeland Security, and it dead ends across the road at the last hydrant by their trucking driveway. And then there's a small line that goes across, a 2-inch line that goes across to Richard Rye's property that feeds all of his stuff. So,
Shot in the dark, how much is this gonna cost and who carries the expense for it? Just a shot in the dark.
I have no idea, Tim. I couldn't even guess on that. Cause I don't know, we've never had anything direct board or anything like that, so I don't know what the estimated cost is on that or anything like that. You know,
And who bears the cost of the installation, the town? Since it remains as our system?
that's up to you guys on how that's, the ownership of that goes.
So what does the Border Patrol have for a sewer system over there?
What's that?
What's the Border Patrol have for a sewer system?
They have a pump station on the north end of the building.
K-Tech's a pretty big water user.
Yes, they
Is
are.
that line gonna be big enough for K-Tech and what, Andy, Melissa?
Well, that 8-inch line on the Homeland Security side is, you know, I mean, it'd feed a whole nother town. You know, I mean, we were approached by East Berkshire about tying into them, you know, was it 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yeah, and they couldn't, before they could find a well.
They still have it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're regretting not hooking into Richford.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother story. But yeah, we were prepared to run 8-inch all the way down into East Berkshire. So we have the volume to be able to accommodate it and everything. But, you know, it's just a matter of running line.
Now the sewer, why would you bore across the road and hook over there if they've already got sewer?
Because
Pump station.
the line that comes off of Homeland Security is only a 2-inch line that goes up to this direct board underneath on the north driveway.
Okay, so it bores back over anyway. Okay,
The force main for the sewer is on the other side of the road.
okay, that makes sense
Was the
now.
sewer there in place too, along with the water line?
What's that?
Was the sewer in place as well as the water line at the time that building was built?
Homeland Security? Yes, the force main was there.
Okay.
That's why they tied into the force main. The force main was put in, I think, you know, when they put Memorial Drive in and everything for
Yeah,
Ava
right,
Maria
yeah,
and all
industrial
that.
park.
Yeah. That it feeds K-Tech, it feeds Richard Rye, and it feeds Ava Maria. They all go back to a pump station behind K-Tech that K-Tech maintains. And then it's pumped out of there and down 105 to the foot of Sewer Plant Road, where it goes into the main there to go into the waste treatment plant.
Okay. So we don't know if it can handle it, because we don't know the volume.
Right, there's some, that's why I had,
Yep.
you know, I printed that out and everything for Andy and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I can have him get back to you guys
Yeah.
on that and get more specific
I mean-
numbers.
I believe in my conversations with Andy that he was under the impression the water would be a benefit to the town because you need extra water at times. But he also said if it came down just, I think if it was just the wash, the wash, the cleaning for the canning or when you're doing your permeate stuff, the washing of the equipment. It could just be that because you can still discharge the permeate water because it's basically just, it's the sap without sap in it. It's just pure water, well, minus minerals, but, so that can still be discharged and,
Is it considered gray water?
no.
It is.
It can be just discharged over stones down into a waterway.
Okay.
So I mean, I think that was, my understanding was he could go either way with that part of it. But wanting to be
Before the soap wash
yeah,
and
that type of
chemical
stuff.
wash, that would have to go direct.
which I think is why Daryl needs some information from you to realize, to see how that would impact the lagoon, bacteria and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, because depending on what he uses for chemicals and stuff like that, if it's an increase for our phosphorus load or anything like that, or our BOD load or anything, that's what we gotta look at to,
Would you just need like product names and stuff for that, or?
yeah,
Okay.
The MSDs.
yeah, the MSDSs. Also, I know from what Paul was telling me that if he talks to UVM and stuff, they can tell you they have studies of impacts of all those chemicals and stuff like that on wastewater treatment systems and stuff like that.
Okay.
So, there's some stuff, that he could make a phone call and find out a little bit about it too.
Okay.
So, and they can give you other options for chemicals and stuff that won't impact, the treatment system and all that stuff. So, yeah.
If we were to go over a permit, what would happen?
There's a possibility of fines.
As, how much? Just,
Could be anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 per violation,
okay.
depending on who you talk to.
And that's the monthly volume you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a monthly evaluation? Or is it more frequent than that it could be?
No, it's, like
Or
I
less
say,
than that,
we're,
roughly?
We're fortunate enough that our testing is based off of a 1 month test. I say right now we only test once a month. So they go off of that and then everything's based on that as far as flow for the month. So, that's the only concern. Like I say, how they would go about, any violations or anything like that, whether it would have to be kind of like, okay, if you do it for 4 months in a row, whether 1 month is not really a violation, but it's a violation, but not a tangible violation, blah, blah, blah. You know, I mean, it's,
And that,
and that's forever changing.
I was gonna say that volume number though, is it set in stone or can it?
Yes.
And it's based on what?
Lagoon size.
Okay.
So the lagoon's only good for so many gallons a day. You know, I mean, that's.
Yeah, okay, I understand.
And our busiest months would be, with the water usage, would be during sugaring, so it wouldn't be year round that we would be
Right.
using the substantial amounts of water, and we'd still be using water for like cleaning canners and equipment like that, but that's nowhere even close to what we would use during sugaring, so it's just like,
Yeah, but
2
I
or 3
believe,
months
but I
time,
believe,
yeah.
but I believe what Daryl's saying is, your water,
Yeah.
your water usage isn't at issue, it's your water discharge
Yeah.
that's potentially at the issue. And unfortunately, when you would be discharging potentially large volumes, is probably the worst time of year for the,
Yeah.
cause you got
It's
the,
frozen.
well, it's frozen and then it warms up, and you're taking in a lot of water.
yeah.
Yeah, so, that's all stuff that needs to, from my
Yep.
earlier conversation with Daryl, needs to be figured out.
Yeah.
But again, you have the option, you could put in 100,000 gallons of water, or you could put in 3,000 or 4,000. The 3,000 or 4,000, correct me if I'm wrong, is probably not gonna be an issue.
No.
It's the larger volume
Yeah.
that it's gonna be at issue, potentially. Once we get firmer numbers and things, that'll be, clearer to us.
Okay, so the number of gallons of
Potential.
discharge, potential gallons of discharge water, and then the chemicals and soaps that we use.
Yep.
And then what else, is there anything else that you guys want us to?
Yeah, who's gonna pay for it?
I think that's for a discussion for us to have.
Yeah, well, I understand that, but, I mean, they gotta, if it's gonna be a point of negotiation,
Well,
we can't give you a number until
I can let you know what we were hoping
yeah,
is that we could get the hookup to our property, and then anything past that is on us. Like if we wanna
Mhm.
run
I
the
understand.
water and sewer all the way to the back line of our property, then that's on us, but we just need the option of a hookup
Well, it'd be normal anyway,
at this
right?
point.
What's that?
Extending lines on the personal property, on the residential property, whatever. What's that?
What about the boring?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think it's an expensive process, and I'm concerned about what it might cost the town to get it out there. And I'd love to have the business in the town, and we're real happy about having that potential business here, but it's not gonna cost us a lot of money.
I think we need to, I think that's why I was asking more for your size and scope, because I mean, if it's gonna be $1 million piece of property, and we're gonna spend 10-15,000, but we're gonna get it back in taxes in a few years.
Right.
Then it's probably something maybe the town would consider doing.
Mhm.
But I mean, if it's gonna be $100,000 facility, well, and it's gonna take us 20 years to get the money, I think those are the type of things we're looking for, is like, how, the size and scope of your operation, how much, what do you estimate it's gonna be valued at, so we can kind of play with that side of the house, as to, the town's, recoup, I guess.
Okay,
Is there any chance of getting an estimate, Daryl? Once Melissa gets you an estimate on what's going into the lagoon and what chemicals are in it, is there any chance of getting an estimate of what it would cost?
Yeah, so I can find out who would be willing to do that direct bore and stuff like that, and get an estimate on what it would cost to have that done and everything, so, yeah. Yeah, and I'd say the bore part of it is kind of the part that's out of our hands, because we don't have the ability to do that, running the line up 105. Yeah, it's something that, could be done on our part and everything with, as far as contractors and stuff like that and everything, or even using the town crew or whatever, if they're in a low position or whatever, to dig the trench for that. But, the direct bore is the thing that's, what needs to be checked into. So, but I'll make some phone calls and see what I can find out for you.
and I can have Andy put those numbers together for you guys and get that back to you.
Okay.
Would you guys prefer email for that, or how would you like that presented?
If you can, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I like writing so I can just digest it, so.
Yeah, so an email to all of us and then that way, or to one of us and one can be
I
forwarded
think
and
it
stuff.
should go, it
Go to
should
the
go through
select
Michael.
board,
Perfect.
and Michael can
That's
pass it on to
Yeah.
the rest
Yeah,
of us.
that'd be perfect.
So everything goes through, Michael.
Michael,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can get your email, or does
and
Andy
then
I'll
that
have
way
your?
we can pass it on and.
Yeah, I'll
also
get
we
yours
get
on
the
there,
estimates from-
because, yeah,
Okay.
that'll be
Okay.
easier.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Great, thank you guys for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Yes.
if you want to, whatever.
I should just write it down.
Yeah.
For you. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you want to talk?
Yeah, that's fine.
You don't have anything, I know.
No, I'm just here.
You're here for this, so I'll move on to the next part, approval of the 6/6 select board meeting minutes.
So I mean, if Daryl wants to, then Daryl's all set.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, Darryl, you-
All right.
you can leave.
Thank you guys.
We won't keep you for the whole meeting.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
But
Thanks, Daryl. I can come talk to you in a minute.
concerning these minutes, I've moved to approve them, but there were changes made to them. Michael and I talked about it.
And then
I know you made the changes, because I read them.
Okay.
He didn't note the no votes on a couple of motions. He just said they passed, 3-1, and you didn't know who voted against it. And did you change anything else?
No, that was the one I changed.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the big one. I didn't change anything else.
Yeah, there was, I had some concern about the 130 Tom Street discussion, but you had brought it up as a water issue for the meter, and we had talked to John about it as a zoning issue. But I think it's fine the way it is, and I have an update on it anyway for tonight,
Okay.
okay?
Okay, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Discussion of water extension on Route 105, I think we just covered that. So, move on to number 6, procedure of road closures and contractor guidelines. Wally and I briefly met today with Kylie, Michael, Jason, and Daryl about this. And we just did a quick talk, what we're thinking, what we would like to see, basic procedures on who's contacted,
Yeah.
and how to alert everybody what's going on. And then we briefly talked about contractors, having procedures and guidelines for them as well. I ran out at the last moment, so I didn't catch everything, but I believe Michael and Kylie are going to get together with Daryl and Jason to put something together, and they'll come.
Perfect.
And they're gonna put it in the water and sewer handbook.
Yeah, well, it's gonna come to our approval before.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's for addition there.
Well, it should,
That's,
what if they're just digging up the road, and it's not related to water and sewer? I think it's,
It's
you know,
gotta, it's,
Alan's email was very succinct
yeah,
in terms of the procedures with flaggers and the notification process and so forth. And I think it should build on that, and I don't think it should be restricted to water and sewer policy.
no, I think it's gotta cover the
Any contract.
whole town. I mean, anything, anytime there's road work to be done, being it the town boys or the water or a contractor, I think there should be some guidelines there to be followed.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
So I guess those to be presented at a later date.
perfect.
okay, Juneteenth Day, recognize a new federal holiday. Does everyone feel about that, and do you wanna move
It's a
forward?
federal holiday, we gotta recognize it.
Yeah,
Well, recognition, we're like updating it in the personnel policy of the.
Yeah, sure, it's gotta be a holiday,
Alright.
and that's why it falls on a Monday, cause it was yesterday. But, yeah, I mean, it's a federal holiday, we have to honor it.
But I mean, there are other federal, I think the question is, there are other federal holidays potentially that, the states don't pay, right?
Like what?
I don't know.
I went through it with Kylie, there isn't that we know of.
Alright.
Yeah, I don't think
Pretty
there
much
are
this
any.
is-
Yeah.
This is only
You know,
same
'cause if
line
they-
as
they
Martin
don't,
Luther King or President's Day or Veterans Day.
The only one that
so-
wasn't recognized by a couple of states,
It's Columbus Day.
no, was Martin Luther King's birthday, but then the feds threatened to take away their highway funding. So they said, oh yeah, we're
This is
on
all
with
on the
that.
same board, so we kinda
Alright.
have to go with it,
Okay.
Okay,
I think.
So
so make a motion to, follow the federal
Yeah, it's now a paid
Juneteenth Day,
holiday.
recognize the new federal holiday. Was there a motion?
I made a motion.
Okay, any second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Appointment of Richford representative for Northwest Communication Union District Governing Board. I believe that's something that Michael is willing to.
Yeah, I'd be willing to be the representative for that.
Okay.
I make a motion to appoint him.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Update from town administrator.
Alright, so, I have what we want for the, personnel policy in terms of, ride-alongs. So I didn't bring, it's just one sentence, so I just wrote it down, I didn't bring the whole thing for it. So this is what I written out, that kind of went along with the language of the personnel policy. And I was thinking you probably wanna put it under, it was section 14 of it, which talks about, town, something town equipment. And, what I wrote down was, use of a town vehicle for ride-along is not permitted without approval of the select board. So
That covers it.
that covers what you
If
guys are
there's something
thinking.
that comes up that we need to have somebody do it right along, we don't wanna make it so we can't.
Well, yeah,
It's just someone like the
for-
Cold
for
Hollow,
us.
comes up from the Cold Hollow Career Center,
Yes.
yeah,
You guys can,
approve that,
Yeah,
okay.
that makes sense.
What if it's an emergency situation that,
All three of us.
well,
Email
what
three of
if,
us to
it-
get
like
three responses.
last week when none of us were available, when you got that call?
We handled it, didn't
I-
we all?
Yeah, but.
I've got one call,
The one he already handled before we all got involved.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying though, but if it's gonna be a policy,
Maybe it needs to say town business, cause I'm thinking, what happens if the paving guy comes up and he hops in the town truck with Slim to go look at the roads? You know, so I think, you know what I mean? How do you have it now?
use of a town vehicle for ride-along is not permitted without approval of the select board.
So I don't think we wanna have to have select board approval for, you know, somebody coming to look, you know.
salespeople or
Or-
whatever,
or-
yeah,
or-
or contractors.
department head,
FEMA head, yeah.
It could be department head,
department head,
yeah, with approval from a department head.
Okay, so approval from a department head, so.
Or the town foreman or road foreman.
Would you want
that's
road
what I
foreman?
mean.
Yeah.
So just approval from road foreman instead.
well,
So-
Well,
road
that's
foreman
to
or-
leave it open for
Or,
anyone
or
else
you,
too.
or a select board.
We need to say select board?
It's
I
right,
don't
so I
think we
mean,
need to say select board.
No.
so just say
Um,
approval from.
Cause I'm looking for
Department head.
Jason, if Daryl's got the water truck and he's got someone with him, that's why I'm,
Okay.
department head.
Yeah,
Department head,
I say, I don't wanna be too micromanaged, but I mean, maybe we specify the intent for town, you know,
For town business.
I guess if they have a question, they would just go to
You're,
you
you're looking to call out each department head and being department,
Right.
water, road,
yeah. Yeah, just say town business. Ride-alongs are prohibited unless it's town business, you know, or the approval of the
Department
foreman.
head for town business.
Yeah, cause it could be Darryl, it could be,
You're right.
Slim, it could be,
could be someone acting in Slim's place.
Yeah.
You don't know.
sure. Whoever the appropriate supervisor is.
Yep.
And they can't, tell their family it's okay to ride along in a snowplow.
Exactly.
That's what we're
I mean,
trying to avoid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you phrase that, but,
Yeah,
you know,
that was kind of the way, kind of like.
yeah.
Yeah,
Trying to,
with
without.
approval from town,
or
Yeah.
run
Department
somewhere
head
somewhere.
for
or
town
they don't.
business
Yeah,
only.
exactly.
So I mean, I can rework that and then I can just send it to you in an email so you
Yeah.
guys can all be informed.
Beautiful thing, thank you.
And then, working on Wally's database, so that's what we're gonna end up doing, like a Excel spreadsheet with all the roads and, town equipment,
Yeah,
and those are the two big,
yeah, too
Items
big.
on that.
So,
so we're gonna do that, that might take a little bit of time, but,
well, and it's gonna be, I mean, it should, I mean, whatever's presented for the grader should go, it should just be change the heading and dump truck number 1, dump truck number 2.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But
so
you know, roads
all the
and
roads and
that's gonna
streets.
take a while.
But yeah, that way we can control our cost, and if somebody comes up and says, well, what did you do, you know, after the October Halloween storm? Well, now you'll know we did 10 loads of gravel and 2 days worth of ditching to, you know, after the, you know, on Whitman Hill or whatever. And it might help us with cost too for budgeting, you know, especially, because that's what I'm thinking for grader, backhoe, like, all right, we changed the oil this day, it cost this much. You know, we needed, I don't know,
New
hydraulic,
tires for whatever.
yeah, hydraulic fluid or whatever.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, it's good.
So yeah, so Michael's taking the task of that, and I'm appreciative of that.
Yep.
And Kylie's also getting working to get a computer for them, and so they have it over there.
Right, or email, I think.
Well, I think email and
Yeah.
email and to be able to do this.
Right,
Well, I think they need a device, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
The one they had was obsolete, and the one that Kylie
Okay.
thought, the one Kylie thought she had here that could work was deemed obsolete. Which really, you know,
That's fine.
doesn't take much, 3, 4 years, 5 years.
Yep.
Yeah, really, no question.
I also got the highway job posted on the website. It's one I got so far. We were able to put on job description and the application. Those are both can be downloaded
Yes.
on the website.
Yeah, so
Work on getting the other ones tomorrow. And so
Did you, I'm sorry, I was gonna say, did you get feedback on transportation meeting on that? Cause I posed the question to those guys, how do they hold on to people?
oh no,
And, actually, Fairfax is the best example. They're, hiring high school kids, and they're paying part, if not all, of their CDL licensing. And I don't wanna say that they're selectively discriminating, but they interview the people. They found great success with farm workers, cause they're used to operating the equipment already.
Yeah.
And, they have a dedicated work ethic, and they're extending themselves, cause everybody else, all the other road people and selectmen and so forth said, we got a difficult time.
So
Not so much getting people, but holding on to them,
Yeah.
cause they're all chasing the money now.
yeah, well, and that's
Probably is.
that's what we're experiencing. So Michael revised it. We added some of the job duties, you know, some of the bigger ones, just because it just said road crew
Right.
without much description. We also I had him be able to put a web address so they can get to an online application. So that wasn't spelled out. You had to come. It told you to come here and physically get one,
Yeah.
which in today's day and age, you
Yeah,
know.
do it online.
I think we added, you had to be within a local commuting distance.
yeah.
What else did we add? Oh, we put the starting wage in there.
Starting wage, but
Stress that was right now, at least as of right now,
With benefits.
full benefits.
Yeah, all the benefits are listed on it.
So we tried to spruce it up, and we're going to expand, rather than just have it show up in like the Courier, Messenger,
Right.
an online presence.
And-
I'd like to make a suggestion. Cold Hollow Career Center, I know they had, I don't know, 5 or 6 students that passed their CDL recently.
Well, I was gonna add on to that, cause we had a job opening, you know, 4 or 5 weeks ago. We could have gotten one of those, cause there was one that was highly interested, but I believe that Sheldon now has that full person.
Okay.
So I mean, yes, they are good, and Cold Hollow is putting out, I think, they had upwards of 8 or 9 kids go through,
Well,
so there are gonna be kids coming out that, if they wanna stay local,
Right.
it's a good paying job.
I think it's great, and one point that I made, and they were all kind of surprised by it, is I said, we've hired some non-CDL guys and given them a pickup truck to plow parking lots and stuff in the winter. And they're like, oh yeah, you know, like it hadn't really occurred to them. And but it sounded like a good program. And I was surprised because in Fairfax, Johnny Nutting's working over there. I didn't know that, but that came up in the discussion too. So, but anyway, that's not a point for the minutes. It's just that's great because I think you can dress it up a lot, which apparently you have, and I'm just so hard to get people these days.
Well, that's what, that's why we figured we need to put a few more of those key features in there.
Enticements.
Enticements, yes. So fingers crossed, we get it out there, we can start getting some applicants. It'd be nice to get a pool of applicants instead of, one or two.
Sure.
So we'll see.
And then the last thing I got on mine is, I think for the brick base electric sign, we should just go with Jason to do it. I haven't got word for a quote on that again. Tried. So Jason's willing to do it. I think we should just go with that. I mean,
Did you give us a formal bid?
No, he did not. I mean, we can get one, but you
But you
wanted
can do it
to.
while he's on hours, right? Right.
You wouldn't be doing it as part of the town, you'd be doing it independently,
Okay.
is what I was told, and
How come we
he's,
don't have to do it as part of the town? Save us some money.
I don't think it didn't occur to me. He told Kylie that he could do it for a certain amount of money, and it wasn't very expensive. And I don't know if he was considering doing it on town time, but
Well, we
that
can
makes
look into
perfect
that, but I
sense.
think
Yeah.
that'd be the way we should go.
Yeah,
Have it a little
definitely, I
faster.
agree,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And did you hear back from Mr. Heeman? Did he meet with
Evan
Mercy
I
today?
think that's this week sometime. I don't think it was. I think it was later in the week, like midweek, like Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay.
So
Concerning the electric? And
Yeah.
Mike seems to think we can pull it off the pole. We don't have to bring it out of the building
should also
via the D&D,
a lot
which
easier.
would save a lot of money, so.
Yeah.
But no guarantees,
Yep.
just,
Just exploring.
Just
Yeah.
Isn't that
for-
what Evan, I think Evan said the same thing, didn't he?
well, that's why they're getting together this
Yeah.
week, so.
Mhm.
All right. Highway report.
They're doing, their spring thing, their spring and summer things. They started mowing roads, they're cleaning out ditches, doing some prep work for the paving that's gonna happen on Pinnacle and a few other places.
Yep.
Replaced a few culverts, been around for the second, maybe third time grading. Did some weed whacking and guardrails. So that stuff's going along. If the assignment of a number two, do we need is that something that's executive session? Can we do, if someone wants to appoint somebody, is that just?
It needs to be approved by us
Yeah,
because of.
that's what I'm saying, but is
pay
it a-
increase probably.
Go to executive to discuss it?
Yeah, I
Okay,
think so.
So we'll save that for executive. Did you bring up at your TAC meeting, street study?
Yeah, I did, as a matter of fact, and one of the things I noticed immediately is the sidewalk that they replaced at the corner of North Avenue and River Street. There's no tactile bumps on the corner,
Yeah.
on the ramp that goes down. So it's a simple thing, they just gotta dig it and
Yeah.
set them in there, so, and they should know that when they're putting in sidewalks adjacent to crosswalks. So, there wasn't much about, I didn't get much feedback on the whole streetscaping thing.
I meant the blocking off those parking spots, and they were gonna do, we mentioned having
We talked to Northwest about that, and they said, yeah, it would make the driving easier, but again, it's one of those things,
Did you?
right now, we don't have a parking problem. One of the things on the streetscaping that we talked about was paving that municipal lot,
Yeah.
the second lot that's behind Mayhew's. There's a sign on the post that says municipal lot with an
It's on
arrow
this
going
side.
down.
Yeah.
And that's it, you're on your own after that.
It's on the side of the crossing, it's
so,
not even on this side where you're looking down into the parking lot.
But it's, we should stripe them all.
Mhm.
And Regional doesn't really have a mapping tool like they said they did. So, you know, we can take out our T-squares and use the zoning regs. It's 11 by 19, I think, per spot.
Are we talking about town boys painting them?
Yeah, where they get the machine.
Yeah.
And the lot that's across from the Legion,
Yep.
which is the town lot, is 149 by 70. We did measure that out during the walkabout. And we did talk about removing those spots, and again, they didn't think it was a bad idea, but
Especially if we pave the.
yeah, and that's the thing, if we have the other municipal parking lots, it'll be fine.
Yeah, right.
But that's part of the problem, you know, because if you don't have those spots, the businesses that are there are gonna complain. What do you mean I can't park in front of where I'm going?
Yeah, and I did
That's
speak,
parking on one side.
I did speak to one of the business owners, and they were concerned about elderly, you know, being able to get to their business, you know.
They can drop them off there. It's
Yeah.
not a no standing area,
Yeah,
it's a
but
no
I mean,
parking.
but I mean, many elderly drive.
Oh, yeah, that's
So,
true,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I mean, it's not, so there is that consideration, so I don't know what we wanna do,
I think the parking lot itself out back, below me, if it was paved, it would be a huge
And have a big
improvement.
sign saying municipal parking.
Right,
They also talked about like the possible Legion where that parking lot was, to put the divider where you have an in and an out.
yeah, there'd be
Or
a
just a free
route,
for all.
yeah.
And they think that should happen to all parking lots that we have because it makes it less problematic. Yes,
Yeah.
for blind people, handicapped people coming through, they don't know who's coming, who's moving, who's going where.
Right.
People walking with children, you know, any of the above.
In regards to the elderly or handicapped, we could designate more of those spaces right on this main street or on River Street. And just, you know, everyone else that can walk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I gotta say, you know, there was a pretty diverse crowd of us that
yeah.
wandered the streets, some in reflective vests. I don't look good in a reflective vest,
Crosswalks, we do not have very nice crosswalks and they're not very defined.
right?
And
We could use more of them, we got the machine.
where was I? At Newport.
Brick.
It looks brick, but it's not,
Yeah,
it's
it's not.
painted.
Yeah.
It's painted brick color and it's
Yeah.
got white stripes on the outside
Yeah,
edges
yeah.
and they pop from a mile away.
Is it cut or pressed or?
it's probably one or the other.
Yeah, I've noticed it and it does look nice.
It looks nice and it's sharp and you can see it
Is
from
it something that the plows will tear up?
It shouldn't if it's
It's not
down.
brick, so I mean, I think it's just, it should skim over it with their,
Right.
with their shoes.
Okay.
But it's probably textured of some type because
Yeah.
that way people who are handicapped and stuff, they
Sure.
can feel it as they're walking.
And they know they're, oh,
In the
you're going in the
sidewalk,
wrong
how-
direction.
Exactly.
I got you. That's a good idea.
So,
Um,
and we definitely need more. We need more by the dollar store for sure.
Yeah,
That's a really dangerous area.
there's none up there.
I grew up there, I never really thought about it, but until we started walking it, I'm like, you know, that does make sense.
And I gotta be honest with you, a lot of these sidewalks are in bad shape.
Bad shape.
And there's the curb issues and there's no grass strip or green strip along the edge of the sidewalks. A lot of them aren't wide enough to accommodate like a wheelchair and a person walking side by side. They're not wide enough. And
Should be.
Yeah.
they definitely should be.
Yeah, I mean, but you're talking a substantial expense there. And
Oh,
I don't-
yeah.
I don't know, where like, that would have to be,
Well,
that would
So
have
is
to be
that-
something that we would seek for grant funding for.
Yes.
well, yes, one of the things that also came out of the TAC committee meeting was that there's $277,000 to be issued in planning grants. You got that information from me. And it was related to pedestrian, bicycles, trails, all of this stuff that, it can be planned by these other people, and, which is, 75% of the expense.
Right.
Because it's, I don't know, architecturally what, measurements are necessary and compliance with ADA and all of these other things. Where that could become very expensive is the sidewalks are too low at the four-way stop there. That there's no ADA access to any of the buildings there, which is where all those businesses are. And Eric Collins did some drawings.
Nice drawings.
They were very good. They have like iron rails around the corners, and you raise the sidewalks up and
To meet the doorways. So
to be
it's actually-
compliant. And but again, it's a lot of money. And but as these grants come available, there'll be a secondary set of grants related to, this is the plan, now you file for the actionable grants. So,
So it's gonna get processed.
yeah, I mean, it won't
She
happen
said
tomorrow.
5 to 10 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, this, yeah, they say it could
Yeah.
take up to 10 years.
Yeah.
but it's important, we need it. And some of the sidewalks are brutal. And
I think the problem is, our town crew started doing the sidewalks, I don't know, however long ago, because they could do double the amount if they did the work themselves.
Right.
But it's still not enough, like, there's just so many, like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's, I
I'm not being critical.
No, I understand you're not being critical, it's just it's a cost prohibitive. I mean, we're doing double what we could if we were hiring it out, but it's just not enough to keep up with it as they deteriorate. So,
And I think one of the other aspects of the streetscape walk around was, and there's a big think tank meeting on the 19th of July.
18th?
I think it's the 19th, I believe.
Is it the
19th,
19th?
yeah.
The Tuesday Scott said was fine.
Okay,
Right,
yeah,
oh, there you go.
so,
So, yes, we shall show up to
and
that.
it's,
Yeah.
everybody should go to here. One of the other things was, building facades. And there was some discussion about that, and, whether it's simply painting or planting or repairing broken glass or whatever it might be.
just look at the paint job Robert did, made that building look 100.
Oh, it's 100 times
Yeah,
better.
but I mean, who would have thought just a little bit of paint and, add some accent.
It's surprising,
color?
yeah, it's surprising, but, and there should be, community development grants for, that type of.
Yeah.
We talked about Richford's own funding
Yep.
that they have for it, that we can
Yep.
look
Yep.
into as well.
So are
So
you
for promotion.
exploring some grant these grants then?
I will, yeah, for that, yes, we'll look into that, but what we talked about was Richford has its own little program, was it community fund?
I believe my brother Scott maybe took advantage of it
And we should also
For the
look into
outside,
that to promote
to fix the
for,
outside of the
for
building.
people.
Yeah.
They have that readily available on.
Yeah.
The revolving
time as
loan,
well.
the revolving loan fund or the community fund? There's two of them, I think, existing out there, right?
Do you know the difference?
Alan would be
Yeah,
the
they're two separate funds.
Right, but the community fund,
Is for community activities,
okay,
Right,
like
the revolving
recreational
loan.
type thing. And it's money that's given, it doesn't have to be repaid. The revolving loan fund was set up for economic development,
Mhm.
and that does have to be repaid.
Yeah, and one of the other things, the tax stabilization plan. I saw a note that,
Is this highway, by the way?
well, he was asking about, okay, it can be anything.
I'm just asking the question. Are we done with highway? Or is this still on highway?
I think are we moving on? No, we started on highway.
Yeah.
Because I was asking about the
Yeah.
street.
Yeah,
No, I have one other item that I need to discuss,
Okay.
which is why I was looking at my phone, because I have, there's a tenant or a lady that lives on Hamilton Place that has concerns about a very substantial puddle that forms in front of her house every rainstorm, and wants to know what we as a town can do about it. And I'm not sure, I
I drove the street after a rainy day and I saw no puddles anywhere.
well, last Thursday, I was in town because
Yeah.
of a haircut,
Mhm.
and I went by and I could see what, that's the puddle,
That's in front of Lavala's house?
it's down the street across from, Ken Brown, next to Ken Brown's. So this is the puddle, and
And
That is a good size photo.
That's down near Mullen Avenue is which?
it's off, yeah, it's,
Must be Pat Brown, not Ken Brown.
yeah, Pat,
Okay,
down
okay.
that street side,
Okay.
like one residence up
Yeah.
this way.
Is there any drainage on the corners?
Yes, but the problem is this is like dead center of the street, and it won't run down, surprisingly, it doesn't run down towards River Street. It all runs back up Hamilton Place, but it only does so once this reaches about 3 inches of deep.
I don't think we're talking about the same road, are we?
We're talking Hamilton.
Place
Yeah.
extension.
Oh, the extension.
Yeah.
No, it's down, it's on the lower,
Hamilton Place.
yeah, then it's down, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not using the right term.
You're on the extension because you said it doesn't run down to River Street, and River Street isn't anywhere near there.
Well, Hamilton Place starts on Townhouse Hill.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, that's
And it
not,
goes down, that's Hamilton Place,
Yeah,
and it
we're-
goes 2 blocks down, and then it turns into Hamilton Place
yeah,
Extension.
we're not on the extension, we're on the original Hamilton Place.
Okay, and so in that picture, I don't know where Pat Brown lives.
There is a storm drain right on Church Street, because it runs down onto Church Street.
Yeah, but
There is a drain right,
It's on the corner. It runs back up Hamilton Place Street, back that way. But it only does so once the water reaches about 3 inches deep here.
So basically,
And it pretty much covers, the lot is not very wide, and it pretty much covers the entire lot. So I can see why the person is,
Are they the people with the big parking area at their house? No.
they have, what you can see, that's their vehicle parked there. That's their one, they have like a narrow drive.
so that's basically either a low spot or a high spot on the other side where it can't.
Apparently, I mean, it's been a problem, the lady says. She's made some inquiries before. It never used to exist, according to
This is on
the lady.
the side
this
of
is
the
looking
street.
down.
This is looking towards,
Towards down River Street.
Yeah, I think
down the
that's
street.
looking toward Church Street.
Never used to
be
exist
back
until they
toward
paved a few
Elm
years
Street,
ago.
I think.
And she's also
Yeah.
claiming there's
Yeah.
a missing chunk of pavement
I don't
next to
know.
the sidewalk, which was just done last
Isn't-
year, that she
Yeah,
says is causing
your-
water
your-
to go into
yeah.
her
See,
basement.
going down.
That I'm not sure of.
That's
I think
Church
it's-
Street down there.
I think it's unlikely
And
they
back
have
here
to
is
investigate
Elm
it.
Street.
But,
And there's a
I can
drain
definitely can see
down
where,
below Church Street.
there's
There's
some,
also a drain right
concern.
on the corner of
So my-
Elm Street there.
I've never, being new to this, has the select board ever dealt with?
so that's the
similar?
north side of the street.
Usually, we did it
Yeah.
over on
It
the
is, okay.
corner, where Mark put that road in to go down behind. There was
Yeah.
an issue at Ranch Hands over that way, wasn't it?
There was, yeah.
Yeah,
There
we
was
did
a
some
water
grading or
break.
something.
Isn't,
It almost
So
looks like it needs to
that
be
there,
built up to
basically,
push it
you're gonna,
outward.
either gonna have to cut the pavement, knock it down for it to drain, or build it up. But then
Yeah.
if you build it up, it's gonna be probably at the same level of the sidewalk.
and their complaint is that it's pooling in the street, it's not going on to their personal property.
Well, they're claiming the sidewalk was done last year, and she claimed it's seeping down behind the sidewalk, between the sidewalk and this pavement and going into her basement. That I'm not sure of, but apparently this puddle stays for days after. So,
That's weird, because I didn't see it when I drove through there.
well, that was Thursday at about 3 o'clock.
And it was raining all day, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, yeah, that's,
so do we, Slim says it'd probably be $1,000 to, have them pave it. You'd have to build it up.
Yeah,
And that would hopefully allow it to push down the street better.
it's the drains.
well, that happened on North Avenue forever,
Well,
where the curb actually disappeared.
Yeah.
The road got higher than the curb
and I noticed,
from repaving.
I did some driving around after that I went and looked at this one, just to see if, there are other areas of town where it did. And I did notice, like, down by the Methodist church where they paved down through there, you must see it every day.
Yep.
That, and according to Jason that is not, that wasn't there until last year when they paved it.
Mhm.
And so the paving created that here, and that's a substantial puddle.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I mean, do we fix
Yeah,
it?
and there's one further down by Gesser's driveway, and there's, it pools significantly. And there's some giant puddles that don't go away in the Davis Park parking area.
That paved?
No,
No,
but
that-
it's,
yeah.
they should go through and grade it so that the water runs off. But,
So I mean, what have we done in the past, you know, I mean, I guess it's an individual homeowner, you know, making the complaint. You know, it's not I guess I just a little,
we used to get a lot of complaints about the drainage on North Avenue, you know that, right? I mean, down at the far end, past your house, there was always complaints, and there was like almost a sinkhole in the road there.
Yeah, but that was part of a larger issue,
Yeah.
part of things that were done incorrectly years ago when they put in the new sewer system.
Mm-hmm.
So that,
not saying.
that was a different
No, but
issue.
running down the hill by what was Fibka's and Neil
Yeah.
Lavallette's and that way. That's,
They did put a storm drain in there
they did.
to fix it, cause it was easier to fix it by doing that than.
I think this would be an expensive, that would be expensive here probably.
But the problem is, if you put in $1,000 worth of pavement, is it gonna bring it up to the level of the sidewalk?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
And that's what happened on
Well, it's
North
gonna-
Avenue before they went to the storm drain
It
fix.
goes, I don't know, like, the best way I can put it is where the sidewalk is and it's, you know, they slope it so they can get up into your driveway. You know, the section where the driveway,
Yeah,
it goes up about halfway at that, it goes halfway up that when it's there. So I don't know I mean, it's tenant owned, so do we talk to the landlord and see if they have the same concerns or, I mean.
It's a rental property?
That's what Jason was telling me.
Okay.
So I don't know. So do we just, we have the paving crew coming, do we have them fix it and see how it goes, or?
That would be my suggestion. Maybe the cheaper way out, if it works, if it doesn't.
Then we,
Like I said, I'd be concerned about raising the road level, so then they'd really have water in the building.
Well, have them take a
well,
look
I
at it.
don't
Go
get,
with
no,
the
it's all uphill to there. That's why I'm quite,
Then how is the water going in the cellar?
that's what I said, I have not investigated that, and both Jason and I think it's unlikely. I think it's just,
Well, it's coming into the cellar, but it's coming from somewhere
it
else.
could be water coming right off the roof going into the.
well, we don't know that. So I mean, that would involve some sort of investigation, but I think we could, if we paved it, it would fix it would fix the area that they're claiming it's running in from.
But if it doesn't sit there, where's it gonna go? Is it gonna go to
Well, I think
somewhere
it-
else? And
Right now, what happens, there's no other puddling on that street above it where it just has to get, it fills that low spot up and then it runs fine all the way down the rest of the street to the corner where the drain is. So I'm thinking if you fill in that low spot, it should continue to run. You know, I don't think it's gonna create another issue down the street because there's no other puddle down the street.
Can it be trenched on the corner, along the curb?
But then you'd be draining down to the ground, right?
No, if you trenched it so it can get out of the low spot to go to either of the corner drains. You know, it's like when you put a French drain around your house.
I don't know, I mean, $1,000 pavement or trenching, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know, I have no idea.
So I mean, like I said,
It's-
it's my first experience with this, and I just didn't know if there was any past practice as dealing with, you know,
I don't recall,
I mean,
but I've.
it seems like if we're hiring people to pave and we're getting puddles afterwards, maybe in the future we need to hold our paving companies accountable.
Mhm.
Because, you know, like the one that down by the Methodist church, if that wasn't there prior to the paving, it definitely shouldn't be there after the paving.
Well, I think there was a number of conditions on that paving project because we didn't have, because of supply chain issues, we didn't have the correct manhole collars to go in, so the manholes got raised up and the water runs off of those areas now. But anytime they're doing paving, they should have
So,
They should be doing surveying to
Yes.
notify the height,
Grading, make sure
recognize the height of the road and things like that.
Yes.
so
I mean, there's been 5 guys out on 105 for a week doing nothing but shooting their surveying guns.
So do we wanna just, alright, to go ahead and have authorize?
You can take a look at it. I mean,
Have,
find out if it's really $1,000 job and do we have $1,000 extra in paving right now.
well, they're coming, so now would be the time, they're coming, so it'd be the time to do it. And Jason thinks they have enough in their, they would have enough in their patching fund, so it wouldn't
Okay.
affect the paving budget.
If they're coming up, how much would it cost us to do the parking lot?
Well, that would,
That's a question that should be asked. I mean, if they're in town already, but,
It's a pretty big lot.
yeah, oh, I know it is, that's,
well, as much as I would like to see that parking lot paved, I would, considering our other previous board meetings when we've discussed having to fix the culverts above it and all of that run all the way down through there that are causing problems, and it runs straight through that parking lot, maybe we ought to consider fixing that issue first, or before we pave that parking lot.
under the parking lot.
Yeah. Cause that was my understanding, correct, Alan? From the railroad station down.
Oh, the
all-
sinkholes, yes,
the-
yes.
those cement culverts that are causing sinkholes all the way down through there. They run directly underneath that parking lot, right?
Is it that parking lot or does it go underneath where Scott's parking lot is, to the river? Does it come out by that street? You know where you're from, the
I think it comes right down that street.
I don't know, I'd have to
down
look
that
at
side
some
street?
maps. It's
I
too
would
bad
think
Bob
it's-
Shoger's
Oh, it
not
must
around, he
because
knows where every
Alan, at
pipe is.
Alan's house, he has a sinkhole, that corner apartment building on the other side of Short Street there. That apartment building right there has a sinkhole right on the back corner of it, so it must come down that street.
So I mean, before, I would investigate that before we put any substantial money into paving. But I'll have Jason get a firmer number and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta correct the safety issues, that's the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I mean, and you can't walk on the sidewalk, you can't,
Right.
you know, you can't get out of your vehicle without stepping in it, so I understand the concerns that the person's
I
having.
agree.
Yeah, I would definitely fix that, just tape it, see where it goes.
Alrighty, I believe that's all I have, except for something in executive.
all right, buildings?
Post office, lease month by month, I'm okay with that, I think most of you guys were
Yeah.
from what we saw with the emails.
Yeah.
And they're gonna give us a month's notice, so
Right,
it's not like
that's-
they're just gonna pick up and walk out. and go,
That's
"No,
what
we're
I
not
asked
paying you."
for, and then we
Yeah.
have to decide, because our contract with them,
Is that?
if there's no other tenants
Mm-hmm.
in the building, they carry the expense load for cleaning it and everything else, right?
Right, the post office.
Right, that's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
So we don't have to
So-
have our person go down there,
Right, but
or maybe they would
the
give us.
concern is that there's not gonna be enough work for the guy then.
Oh, no, there's.
That's what I said, but
I have
I'm
no
hearing,
concerns, I have a lot of painting that has to be done,
I
inside
understand,
and outside of all the buildings, I would say give us a year, then there might not be enough work.
okay. But you understand, in the post office contract, it says, we don't carry the expense of cleaning and so forth if there's not another tenant.
If they're the sole tenant,
Right.
they will take care of the cleaning and expense. But the lease agreement is the same amount if with or without, they just figure the numbers differently. The first agreement was almost exactly right to the penny, it's the same thing with them taking care of it. And
No,
that was them
I-
putting in the money towards it.
Yeah, no, which lease are you talking about? Supervisory union
No,
or the
post
post
office.
office? Okay, yeah.
Post office,
But there's still, our expenses would go down when the supervisory union leaves.
right. The
Because-
first lease they sent me was with the janitor, them being the sole, the guy had thought he was the sole person in it. And when they sent that, he thought he was the sole person in there, and they said they will pay the expense of the janitor. But that expense was included in our lease if we had somebody that would do it. And then when he sent me the new lease, it was for the same amount of money.
I
But I
thought we
got him to
approved
go
their
up.
lease back in
We did.
October or something.
We did, but originally he sent me one, and he sent me the wrong one. He sent me the one where they were the sole tenant. So then he sent me another one, and I actually got, I think it was $2,000 more a year out of it. out of them. By raising, I said, well, everything else is gonna, we need to raise some of this. And so-
But we haven't approved that second lease.
Yes, that was the one, because the first one got thrown out as soon as we caught that it
Oh,
had
okay.
sole tenant. It didn't go to the select board.
So you're saying that we
It
still
really
have
is.
to provide the service?
No, the numbers didn't change with us providing or not providing. And with the first one, with us, with them, okay. The first one had the amount of money, but it included if a janitor, that they would pay for it, but they included that money in the lease for us to cover it because they're out of state. They're not like right here to hire somebody. So, see what I'm saying?
Nope. Sorry. What I'm saying is, you got a second lease
I got a second
that,
lease and
that
all
we
they
are
did
carrying the expense of the
Right,
janitorial services.
right, and they
Now-
also upped it by a certain amount of money with us carrying the janitorial.
Okay, but, and that's the lease that we approved.
Yes,
Okay. Now, but it doesn't say that we provide janitorial services if they're the only tenant, does it?
all he did was change the wording in it about the, being the sole leasing of the building
So-
versus having more
so-
than enough things.
Does the current agreement,
Yes, includes the janitor
okay, that we have to provide?
that we provide, yes.
Okay, that's the question that I'm
Yes,
asking.
that's the one we signed.
So, and that's not what the original agreement was that we were renewing. That said if they were the sole tenant,
Right,
then-
and they also increased their lease.
I understand that, but I don't know why we moved away from,
Because they wouldn't supply anything, not being the only one in the building. And that means usually it's the building the size of them. It's not a building,
I get
a
you.
lot of people don't realize how big that building is.
Yeah, no, I
until they start
understand.
talking about footage and stuff like that, and they're like, yeah, like the guy that wanted to buy the thing.
Right.
He was all big about it and kept, everything got all the numbers together, and they're like, yeah, the building's way too big for us. We are
So-
not landlords. We just
Okay.
want a lease to post office, cause they take the whole building and that's it. And they
when
maintain it.
supervisory union leaves, we just ignore that space?
No,
Well,
we've already
Why
got
not?
ideas.
what's that?
We've already got some ideas,
Well, I understand that, but,
but we need to get to that.
okay, I'm beating a dead horse here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't remember approving a new agreement that didn't have, the sole tenant requirement. That's all. That's what
The
I'm saying.
first one with them being the sole tenant, no one saw it, it went right back to them, they
That's
sent me
fine.
the wrong one.
Okay,
I remember hearing
Linda,
about it.
Linda actually is the one who caught it saying the sole tenant.
okay.
So we had taken it and sent it, and I called him, and he, no,
Okay,
we
that's fine.
sent
I'm
you the
being- I'm
wrong
just
one,
saying,
sorry.
I-
And they sent me the right, correct one, and that's the one that came to everybody here, was the corrected one.
Didn't do my homework.
It's okay.
That's okay,
Yeah.
I'm just,
Okay, so that's that one. The roof is supposed to be starting, they're supposed to be coming Thursday to start removing stone. Waiting on confirmation though, because you know how hiccups happen. So Taylor's gonna let me know, hopefully Wednesday, and that way I can let them know not to park out back.
okay.
But hopefully it's gonna start Thursday, taking the stone off and stuff. I do have a quote, it's a verbal quote for, the AC heater for down there, down at the fire station, for the upstairs. $4,800 installed because he just did one the week before, so he knew for the one head that that's what it would cost. I don't have a written quote, but I did walk him through this building, and they do have 2-headed ones, and they have 3-headed ones, which would fix the issue of not having heat upstairs in John's office, along with being able to move the thermostat out of Kylie's office and move it upstairs to where when we need it for upstairs, we can heat that part of the building, the big auditorium upstairs, and then has heated floors. So this would still all work off boiler. We would have a 2-head unit between Kim's office over here for housing, because she has no heat or AC in there, and also the town clerk, nurse's office. So it'd be a head in each one of them. That's about $500 to $600 more than $4,800, so about $5,400 installed. but those are very hard to come by. So they're on back order, back order, back order. There's a 3-headed unit that we could get, that could go John's office, administrator, ambulance office, and then Kylie's office. So, and they do, just with what they would do is they plumb outside, they come down, there's a little bench that they put in. One would be inside of where the metal railing is here against the brick, so it wouldn't be anything, it would be in anybody's way. And then the unit sits on that. On the other side, it would stick out this far from the building, which isn't much, and it'd be like in the handicapped area, but you can't get up to that anyway. And it wouldn't obstruct anything for handicap. Same thing, that would be for the 3-headed unit. So, still waiting on when, for the
So
fire department, is that something you guys will approve, or do you wanna see it in writing first?
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
2-head unit?
Mhm.
Cause I know we talked at one point
we
about the
did,
2-head.
but your 2-head unit is probably gonna be closer to next year.
Okay,
The 1-headed unit would probably
Can
be
they be-
within the next month.
can they be added on? That's your big thing, is cause once one's in there, you're now capping yourself to not,
You can add it on, but you would have, it really can't be added together in the same compressor, different size compressor.
right, I didn't, that's why I was wondering if there's a way to get.
Yes. And if we wanted to wait, we could do a 2-head down there, but couldn't promise when one could come. And he said, seeing, because downstairs it's such a small room,
We
That's-
cool the whole bay because we keep our drugs, so that 5,000 BTU runs constantly nonstop to try to keep that bay cold, so you're costing a lot of electricity there
Okay.
too.
so you'd wanna heat the bay,
No, you wanna cool, you gotta cool,
well,
our drugs,
cool the bay.
our drugs gotta
Same
gotta
difference.
stay below
Same
80
distance.
degrees.
Right,
And that bay gets pretty hot in the summer without all that sun coming through them windows. And right now we're doing it with a 5,000 BTU in our office, and it does not shut off until about midnight.
now what did we do before? Down there?
5,000 BTU unit in that window, and it ran all summer long. Constantly.
We can get one, but it's gonna be
I
a
just
while.
thought, you know,
Right,
if you got the unit, they run a little cheaper than those window units, cause.
they are, and there is a $350 over-the-counter rebate at the time of purchase, so that's why it's cheaper right now than what it would be. But also Efficiency Vermont may have some help
Maybe.
for
We
some of
don't-
that, we
we
don't know
don't-
yet, he's working on that part.
Yep.
So,
Mr. Ed mentioned that
So
what you were
wait
looking.
for an update on that.
yes, we can wait for an update on it. Let me know that one.
Okay.
Sound good? Alright. 4-wheelers on, this is another business, but 4-wheelers on Home Street,
We'll get through the
other stuff
water,
first.
yeah, and then we'll do the other
Bring that back,
business.
okay.
Yeah, cause I got something under other business too, and I gotta remember what it was now. Yeah, I
I'll have
remember
that
what
too,
it was.
because I got all of the Vermont information on that, and I checked the statutes and everything for the
Okay.
P.E.Gs and stuff.
Perfect, that's good.
Alright, so water and sewer, we had some water breaks. There's a water break for a 4-inch line, we discussed this afternoon in back of Hamilton Place out to the back of Blue Seal.
Alright.
Basically wanna know what we do. Daryl's saying that the big tractors that is being used out there is breaking it, but he could put out, we could put the plastic pipe in and that wouldn't break. He's supposed to be getting a cost for that. He's saying that plastic has gone up, it's 160%, is I believe the number he used.
Yeah,
So
that's ridiculous.
he's gonna get a cost on that, but I believe that's,
Is it on Quaker Street?
well, it goes, well, they've got 2 lines coming in, one going down around Quaker Street and one Webster Street, then we'll line out back, but there is, for fire suppression, there's a big loop around the mill. And the volume of water that's needed is what I believe is why that 4 inch is coming out from the backside to help equalize the pressure. So he's looking into that. He's got a list of activities here, from perform preventive maintenance to run in samples to the lab. I won't go through all of those, but he's turned on water to the cemeteries, they checked for leaks. Turned on water to someone on Church Street that someone was making repairs to. repaired curb stop on 61 Golf Course Road with A&D excavation. Made the water sewer connections for new construction on Hamilton Place Extension with A&D. Final meter readings on 1 River Street, 142 Intervale Ave, and 67 North Noise Street. Street property sales is what it reads. They replaced water meter on 60 Golf Course. They got 8 totes of supplies. They actually had to come up to the mill to unload because the truck came without a unloading system. And building on Green Avenue booster pump station in the #1 vault. Engineering, A&E is working on engineering plans for the booster pump station on Golf Course Road. And they're still waiting for V-Trans for the progress on the bridge project. Activities planned or needed, maintenance on sand filters, installing backwash system for sand filters, replace water main on Golf Course Road and installing a booster pump. That needs to be figured out, and replacing manholes and risers to reduce the ground infiltration, I can't say that word, into our sewer systems. So that's what he's got down.
We used to have meetings with SOS, past boards, they'd come in quarterly or whatever, and that's when we were giving them the business. I mean, you know, about problems and so forth. I was just curious if you could share that report with the rest of the board. I think it would be.
I can if I have it in email format. I've got it in paper and we can make copies.
Well, can you scan it in, or?
I don't have a scanner at home.
Okay,
So
I can scan it and send it around if you like.
I'll give it to Michael and he can
Okay.
take care of it.
All right, great. Yeah, I think, you know, any department reports like that are
Yeah.
important, especially when we're paying them a couple $100,000. So, great, thank you.
That's all I have. So we go on to parks, playgrounds and cemeteries.
Everything's looking good. I have one question, and it's come up a couple of times. And I don't know that I necessarily agree with it, but I'll put it out to the board here. There's a tree in the Main Street Park. It's a large maple tree. It's towards the end of the park next to the building. The Christmas Light Committee has mentioned twice it's too tall for them to decorate. So they wanted to take it down.
No,
That's kind of what I said. I went and looked at it and they said, well, the tree's dead and it's this and that, and it's far from dead.
it's far from
And,
that.
and it helps obscure that end building as well. And
Well, it also
I,
holds a hill together, it does a lot more than.
well,
just
you
that.
know, I went and looked at it, and I don't think we should take it down,
No.
but the people that are asking have been told, it shouldn't be a problem, but I think it is a problem. And so I'm just bringing it up to this board, and, you know, there's so many, and I talked to the landscaping people too. I was down there looking at it with Judy, and there's actually a dead tree next to it, a small pine or cypress or something that we should take down. And this one could be taken down, but I don't think it needs to be. It's, and just because they can't decorate it at Christmas
They can
isn't a
decorate
good.
everything else.
Exactly, it's not a good reason to take it
They
down.
could put anything, they could put.
There's a lot of real small spindly maples that have been put in along the path, and they're not growing well, but that's a whole nother topic of discussion. But I think it should be left. I just said I'd bring it to the meeting because
I'm with you,
I need to get input from everybody else.
I think we should keep it.
I agree.
Perfect. I will convey that message. Everything else is good. We got some events coming up in Davis Park, the big fireworks thing for the Lions. And are they, do you know, they're doing more than just the fireworks, yes or no?
I don't know.
Okay. I had heard potentially music, potentially some food, those
So
types of
it's in the
things.
works,
Okay,
trying.
all right,
Keep it under wraps.
because I'm having a party at my house, so.
I'm not on that, maybe I might be over across on the island shooting the fireworks, but
Yeah,
What day are they doing the fireworks on?
9th.
9th of January, or July, really,
July.
January.
They're having the
pretty cool.
barbecue,
And,
We're done in that time.
they're having their barbecue the week before,
on the 2nd,
on the 2nd.
at the Emergency Service Center.
After the parade.
Right. And it's takeout only, is that correct?
I believe so.
Yes,
So there's no way to sit down there, is what they're saying.
so it sounds like they won't use the animal station this year.
Yeah. Just to stick
Really?
it.
Just so they can be in the little garage instead of having the big garage filled up. I don't, where trucks are gonna be
Doesn't
at
matter.
anyways.
I know they may be in charge of the food, so.
Well, I'm not involved with that, I just heard some talk about it.
Okay,
Our trucks are on the garage
Oh.
usually anyways, they're out back.
yeah.
Cause
But it
one's gonna
doesn't
be in the
matter,
parade.
either place
Yeah.
will work, so if
Okay.
you change your mind.
Yep.
It's fine by me.
Okay,
And also on July 16th is the pedal paddle. And they do have some postering, some yard signs around town
nice.
promoting that, so. And the Lions actually have one too for the parade. It's worded a little odd about people, anybody can join the parade, but it doesn't say that really.
So that was actually Terry Leonard that brought those around.
Okay. They, basically, I think it should be great. I mean, I'm glad to see, and once we get the new board out front, that'll be
That'll be nice information.
significant improvement to promote different things around town and so forth. And I know there's an event down there tomorrow night for Kathy Gendron, who you know, the young lady that passed away at the mill with the electric wheelchair.
Oh,
That's her, right? Yeah.
okay.
And they're having some kind of a session in Davis Park tomorrow night with some food and camaraderie and so forth, but it's getting a lot of use. Nobody's renting kayaks or canoes, but
Too cold still, free.
I don't know, there's a lot of people on the river, tell me.
So I've seen a lot of them.
What's that?
So I've seen a lot on the river already.
Yeah, right.
Is it because they're not
Oh, they just,
advertising it?
no, we got the new sign on the door, and, but a lot of people are into it, they purchase their own equipment now, so. Anyway, that's what I know about parks, I'll be quiet.
Other business.
Well, someone, and it shouldn't be me, because I'm much too much of a bull in a china shop, should approach the sheriff's department to enforce our ATV ordinance. We've done the correct things, and this is a little bit dated, even like related to helmets. This is the 22 version, and it says, for protective equipment, the following protective gear should be worn. Doesn't say must, but when you go to the state statutes now, it says must be worn.
So the state did finally put it through,
Yeah,
so they just
it's,
haven't changed theirs yet.
you go to the Department of Transportation,
Yeah.
and there's a whole section on ATVs. The biggest problem that I see is they're driving on unapproved roads. Okay, they're not wearing helmets. About half of the vehicles are unregistered, and they have to be insured now. They don't have to be insured if you're on your own property or if you're taking them on a frozen body of water. Everything else calls for them to carry insurance. So, and you know they don't, and I don't wanna upset the apple cart, but I'm tired of side-by-sides going past my house at 50 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone, and little kids hanging on the back of them with no helmets and things like this. And the majority of those are the unregistered ones, so you can't.
Exactly,
And
it's the ones that are doing
And
it
in
legally.
order to use them on the streets, they have to belong to a club. So they have to display certain stickers on their vehicle, whether it's Queen Lil's or another
Yeah.
club, or they can also get away with a Vasa sticker,
Yeah.
I believe. But very few are abiding by those rules. Now, I don't know what kind of fines would be involved, but I see them all the time buzzing up and down North Avenue. That's not an authorized street. I got a copy of our ordinance, and that's not an authorized street. Many of the streets have no ATVs allowed.
Yep, and signs.
On the ends of the streets, and people ignore them.
Yep.
So, I don't know what the fine schedule would be, but
Did we grant at one time though? It seems like we have had like a resident that live up there that has a ATV.
there were some specially approved
If you live on
committees.
the street, you're allowed to
Yes.
drive the street to leave it or to come back home.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to go up and down and up and down and up and down and around and around. And if you're not living on the street, you should not be on the street.
Right.
Your ATVs.
Right, but that's what we gotta watch out for.
Yes, because everybody's misusing it.
Well, even, you could stop the majority of the people without helmets,
Yeah,
you know? And the problem is that the sheriff's department won't pursue them because they'll go off-road and drive in a field, and they don't wanna
Now,
endanger the people.
I also, and this is because I was riding with someone up the camp, they were dealing with someone that they were talking about the helmet law for the side-by-sides. And I believe, from my understanding, that the helmet law went away for the side-by-sides.
Yes.
It didn't.
No,
No,
you have to have, you don't have to have an ATV helmet. You can wear a bicycle helmet. You can wear a bicycle helmet.
it says you need to wear a helmet according to the manufacturer's specifications.
Richford ambulance, please respond 260 South Main Street in Richford. A 9-year-old female complaining of difficulty breathing.
If you go to the VASA website, on my way out, it says,
I went to the state statutes
right, what I'm
website.
saying, if you go to the VASA website, it spells out your helmets, what is required. ATV requires ATV helmet. There's a actual statute, and there's an actual code for sports equipment helmet. Have a good night, guys.
It's 2022.
Yeah, this is, but,
I know last spring, or last summer when they had their first annual,
yep,
side-by-side rally, the police came and they said, all we can do is make sure you're wearing the helmet. There's nothing in the states, at that time, there was nothing in the states actually, even that said it had to be buckled.
right.
So-
Now it does say that.
Well,
It needs to be worn according to the manufacturer's instructions.
And I
That's why you can wear bicycle helmets and sports helmets and, you know, whatever else. They just want something on your head.
Yeah.
And that law is pretty recent, within like the last year. But if you go to the transportation section of the state statutes, it all lists as a big, long section about all-terrain vehicles. And it includes, you know, it defines exactly what they are. It doesn't relate to snowmobiles, and it doesn't relate to a lot of other things. But there's all kinds of new requirements, like helmets need to be worn, like I said, according to the manufacturer's specifications. And if it is a specific ATV or side-by-side helmet or something, it has to have a strap that keeps it on your head. And then it also says they have to carry insurance if the municipality has approved use on roads, and they can only use it on roads. And technically, if they're out in a field and they don't own the property, they have to carry on their person a notification from the landowner to allow them to go there.
so basically we need a couple people to have a meeting with the sheriff is what I'm understanding.
I'd be happy to do that, but I personally think we're not getting our money's worth with the sheriff anyway.
well, I know there was somebody who called the sheriff's department and then called the state police and basically got laughed at by both. They don't respond to those kind of calls.
Right, and what I'm
That's
saying
what they were
is,
told by both, and that's wrong, because.
they're under contract to us.
But also, Didn't Vasa come up here and sit in meetings with us? Different
It was
board.
before my time. yeah.
Different board, okay, I'm the only one from that board, but talked about how they were going to help police, and this money, extra money that they bring in through VASA gets distributed between the towns that allow this for extra help for policing.
So maybe we need
To
to get
visit
together
them.
with the sheriff and a member of VASA
Yes.
to discuss this.
I know last year I was riding in Bakersfield and met a sheriff side by side. So they have a
Mhm.
Franklin County sheriff side by side that must patrol at times, but I've never seen one in our neck of the woods.
Well, anybody can supervise it. Fish and game can do it, sheriff, state police, local police, and there's one other one.
But this was like up. This was way out in the country.
Oh, yeah,
But
sure.
That wasn't like we're. I think I'm guessing the majority of what we're talking about is village centric, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so concerned about the landowner permits and having those, if the landowners have a problem,
They're gonna tell us.
they're gonna tell them, or they're gonna start stringing wires across their fields or whatever, which I'd hate to see, but,
I think that's illegal, to be honest.
yeah, I know it is, it's also in the statute that it's illegal, but, I just think I would like,
Sorry.
that's okay.
I think we need to get hold of somebody from VASA, the sheriff's department, and then have a sit down and go over.
Member of VASA and the sheriffs, what can we do?
That's fine.
But even
That's-
somebody from Queen Lil's too to be here.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
So that way
absolutely.
we have our local, if there's
Yeah.
another one local, maybe Newsford has one, they could come too, because this is not just a problem here, it's a problem everywhere.
Yeah, I'm not anti-ATV, I'm
The
not
Northwest
anti-side-by-side.
areas, the game wardens are the ones that do a lot of
Yeah, I
patrolling.
know. All I'm saying is, the town granted the right to go on the streets.
And those
And-
people we granted it to are using it correctly, let's get that right. The ones who not doing it correctly are the ones that are taking advantage of everything, and they're not the ones that.
But it's
get
not
the
100%, because I see a lot of non-helmet usage, even
Yeah.
on the people that have it. And all I'm saying is that the town extended itself to allow them on the streets with the thinking that it would improve businesses and improve, like in New Hampshire where it's popular everywhere and they could go to restaurants and it's like snowmobile clubs in the winter.
Yes.
They pull up and
That's what
20
we
of them
should
have
do.
dinner or
And that's where
whatever.
we should be at with that, to be honest, if we wanna be a recreational known
Right,
town.
but-
We should be more on that line, we want kayaking and canoeing
Yep.
and skiing and all this other stuff, we should be focusing on all of the outdoor recreation.
I agree.
But we have to come up with a place, I mean, those places you're talking about in New Hampshire, a lot of them are 100 miles of trails.
Oh, I know.
And neat areas and Arrow and different places that people travel by the hundreds of them to go do. We
But-
don't have that yet here, and it'd be nice if we did have something here like that.
Well, because they're abusing the privilege now, so I don't see that will
Oh, they
ever
do the
happen.
same thing in the other towns, I didn't get that wrong, I grew up there.
I was gonna say, it's,
I was up there.
it's just not four-wheelers, it's vehicles in town. We
Yeah.
have unregistered, uninspected vehicles, so it's everything. I can't really, single out one group of
Mhm.
people.
Well, and my question is, how come we're not enforcing it?
Well, I was just gonna propose,
Manpower.
manpower's part of it, but I was gonna propose that we get a meeting set up, Michael, and that's what I would like to see, is get a meeting set up between the sheriff, a member of VASA, and probably Queen Mills to see what we can do to mitigate some of these issues.
Alright.
Does everyone agree?
Yes,
Thank you.
How is it, okay, yes, I agree, but how is it gonna affect the non-compliant people?
Well,
That if you're
that's,
saying it's everybody outside of
well,
Queen
if that
Lil's.
gives us more money for more policing, then we can get more policing up here and have that as their sole purpose.
I don't think Queen Lil's would like non-members to give their club a bad name. If you're
Exactly.
associating a four-wheeler with Queen Lil's, I don't believe they wanna see that I
Right.
think they wanna see members in good standing.
No, but I think Sherry hits on it, that
We need the money,
We-
we need the policing.
if we police it, it can be a self-sustaining process, that we
So-
issue the fines, and we use the fines to hire police to enforce it.
So if the sheriff is here, they pull somebody over, fine them, that money comes to us?
Portion of it does.
If it's within our ordinance, I believe. it's-
Yeah, there's certain,
certain-
you can look it up, yeah, just like speeding fines and things
I
like
don't
that.
believe it's gonna fund.
Court, it's,
coverage.
we get more money out of the courts,
By
right?
any means.
No, we don't get any money out of the courts?
We get a very small percentage.
And
Okay.
then you get the ones that just don't pay. because-
Oh, of course.
Well, yeah,
But also, they used to be able to take the four-wheeler. So, we're
Well-
not there, that's what
I
we
mean, I
should
know
do.
some of you guys are, ATV advocates, and I'm not against them. I just think it's a particular safety hazard in the village. People with them speeding and
It depends on
stumping.
everything. We went for that walk through town and they were speeding everywhere. They were coming in at 50 miles an
I
hour down
agree.
there, they were coming in at 50 miles an hour down here.
But
And to be
it's
honest,
just not the ATVs, is it?
no, it's
No,
not.
I understand that, but
And to be honest, if we ran a sidewalk all the way down to the elementary school and put a crosswalk there, red with white lines, where it's noticeable, all of a sudden, because even myself, when you're driving into a town, you don't realize until you start seeing sidewalks and curb signs. You're like, oh shit, slow down.
Something with flashing lights, calling
Yes,
it out.
something, yeah. It's coming off from there and going, oh, here's a sign, oh, there's a sign hiding by half a branch, you know what I mean? It's like,
well, and the
you
other
need
thing too,
destination, you need sign, you need
you,
visual.
when you talk about this, when we originally re-upped with the sheriff's department, he came to meet with Linda and I.
Yep.
And he said we could have those traffic monitors here that, speed limit 25 and your speed is 75. And
We had one once for, what, a day, down by David's.
Yeah, and
By
I
David's
noticed,
Auto.
like
Oh, yeah.
going through Montgomery, I noticed they have a permanent one that, I don't know if it was something put in by the state or what, but speed limit of 35, and it's got your, maybe we can look into something like that.
And they've got 3 permanent or semi-permanent in Enosburg.
Yeah,
One's on
Yeah.
Orchard because everybody goes 50 and a 25 through there. And
Right.
they actually park state troopers there at the top above the dip.
Yeah.
And because coming down the hill, you can't hardly go the speed limit. Just, take your foot off the gas and the car accelerates that much. But,
so if we could look into a couple of
Yeah.
permanent ones here in town would be
or not even
beneficial.
permanent, just the sheriff's office has them. They tow them down, they drop them. Or V-Trans has 1 million of them. It's the same signs, they just program them differently. They put a radar gun on them, and instead of saying road construction ahead like the one that's out here
Yeah.
now, it says your speed is.
That's something we can ask about then at the meeting.
but it sounds like we have a game plan. Let's
Yeah. Okay.
let's set the meeting and let's go
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah,
Yes.
so,
Another, other business update, it's a zoning thing. We had all those concerns about 130 Thomas. And when we, John Libby, got a response from them on their deed lien. And they have provided a schedule for the cleanup of the property,
good.
apparently. And it's not, 2 years from now, it's maybe 2 months from now or something like that. But they're gonna supposedly get it taken care of, okay? The Brook Street property that burned down a year ago, John was told that the town can do whatever we want. The bank's gonna foreclose on the property.
This is one out Easter Street.
Yeah, that burned out
Yeah.
on the corner of Brook
Yeah.
Street and 105
I
there.
didn't realize it was
And,
Brook Street.
and the other, the weird thing about it is, it's a new mortgage company, and it sounds like within the last year, this mortgage company bought the mortgage from somebody else
Without knowing?
without, apparently they didn't know that the building burned down. I mean, they're not foreclosing on the land, they're not, they're foreclosing on the
Can the
loan
town,
in the building.
can the town go to the insurer? And-
I don't have any idea, but you used to be a loan officer, do you have any introspective on that?
Well, you can't foreclose on a house, you foreclose on real estate.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
land only that you foreclose on.
all right,
And
but if that's part of a mortgage payment though, that they're not making. So
So how does
the
that,
house comes with it, right?
so what is this property to the town? I mean, why are we?
We wanna get it cleared.
Clean-
It's,
clean
We
up.
don't own
it's
it,
outside
it's
the zoning
it's-
violations.
a burnt rubble right now.
Yeah.
And, as far as, there's some hazardous material
Yeah.
on that, and that's why I'm thinking that we should go to the insurer, because I believe, and this is, this is what you've been told, but part of the insurance money was to clean up the property.
And this,
Until, I mean, it's still personal property, until the
So-
bank takes title, the people that own the property are still the legal owners.
Okay.
And I don't know.
it'll go to tax sale, cause they haven't paid
Mhm.
the taxes on it. They did last year, but they won't this year.
I mean, have we talked to the owners to see if they would let us
Yeah.
clean it up?
No, they said, you
We,
do whatever you want. They said, you can give it away, cause the bank's gonna foreclose on it.
But
That's
that
their
doesn't
exact
mean
words.
anything.
the
They're
town,
still
it's gonna
legal.
cost the town
A lot of
a
money.
lot of money to take care of this, I believe.
Because on their original, insurance settlement, and this is just talk on the street, I don't know if it's right or not. They tried to contract with this guy over in Derby or Troy, somewhere, that does hazardous material remediation. And he wanted too much money, so they said, no, go away, we're not gonna live there, but there's some issues, I got a lot of pictures at home, about potentially stuff leaching into the brook there.
Actually, our water.
No.
No, but it's
Some
still,
of our water supplies. is-
Oh, is that what you're saying?
but it's still a potential hazard and so forth.
It goes into our rivers.
Yeah, and I'm just putting it out there because it was, our bylaws say, in the event of a destroyed property, whatever, act of God or anything else, it has to be returned to grade within 1 year of the event, and that fire was
That's-
April 17th or something?
Yeah, it was in April of 2021.
Yeah.
21, I think, yeah. So the year is up, and that's why I asked John to find out what was going on with it. And they told him, do whatever you want, you can give it away. The bank's gonna foreclose on it, and so,
So essentially what we're looking for is something to force them to clean it up.
that's what I would say would be
Yeah.
appropriate. Or if we can
Around
get
the town's
insurance
attorney. Take
compensation.
them to environmental court or,
And again, it's just,
Well, if the bank forecloses on it, won't the bank have to clean it up then? Is that
Does
what
it-
the
well,
problem
it
is?
comes-
they would be the record owner, but again, they might do the same thing as the people now.
Right.
You want it cleaned up, you clean it up. I mean, I don't know what the bank would do,
Yeah.
but it's still gonna be private property owned by
well,
the
and
bank. And
True.
And the bank doesn't necessarily have to pay the real estate taxes on it, and when they foreclose on it.
well, once they take title to it, they
They
will.
have to.
Yeah, I don't know. They don't have to.
Well, they can let it go to tax sale.
Yeah.
And that would be the cheap option for them to get out of it.
Because they're not getting anything out of it.
Then what?
But then we won't get it for a year.
Right. And, but anyway,
Okay.
I'm putting it out there. And you all saw the note from Kylie on the 50 Farrar thing. So we're backed up for another month.
Yeah.
And
But she did say it doesn't sound like they're gonna, they've said they weren't gonna file any more motions, right?
that's what our attorney said.
We'll see.
And if, yeah, they got 30 days to evaluate it from whatever, last week or whatever. And they have, and if they don't file any action, then the judge has to bless it again, and who knows how long that takes. But once the judge blesses it the next time, sheriff provides notice of 5 days. And they go in and clear them out, so, which is absolutely insane. I mean, we bought it at tax sale years ago. People have been living in there, and because of the COVID non-eviction,
Yep.
the eviction moratorium. But anyway,
Did you have anything, Sherry?
Oh, I'm good.
Molly, do you have a?
Do we want, is there anything, that Brook Street, is there anything we can have Michael research? Like, can call environmental board or anything?
That probably,
they've been called,
Alright.
and they haven't, I sent them 100 pictures
the
and.
only other thing we could do is go to our attorney, right? And ask the question, but it's gonna cost us, do we wanna spend the money at this time? Or do we wait to see what the private property owner does?
I mean, it's kind of an eyesore coming into town from that direction.
I don't disagree.
Newport's got like
But so
three
is,
of them.
so is,
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
one
And
in
Newport's got like three of them,
Right,
they've been there for
right
like
below
5, 6
us,
years.
Sacred Heart, right?
Yep.
That one's been there for years.
Yep,
Yep.
it has been, so,
and also, you got that burned out trailer in the trailer park.
that's gonna be replaced though.
Okay, good.
Not saying it's gonna be,
It might be a 1965 vintage,
yeah.
Yeah.
but
I do have other business. I think it goes to water and sewer and the Chandra place.
Oh.
Kylie did mention that there is, conflict of interest potentially, with the attorney. So the recommendation was to send a letter expressing, our concern to the owner.
Mhm.
Say it's come to our attention, water's being drawn from this, the town deed, the deed of record, say it can only be used for fire service, or fire.
Yep.
So please cease to, desist or respond, with what you're, I don't, something along those lines. And Kylie said she could craft it and send it.
Okay,
Um,
why is it a conflict?
same attorney?
Potentially, yes, that was my understanding.
I don't know, I just,
Yeah. So,
We can try that route, I suppose.
I think that's our,
well, and the other thing that we talked about was we should have a full accounting of special deals and or other repairs that are property, right, there's properties without meters now, with
Well, it has
broken
meters,
Oh, I know that does, but
all the,
there's a few around that still are non-functioning or don't have them, or they haven't been updated to radio reads and things like that. And like the one property that the water that's delivered to their house, and we gotta make a decision on it because the pipe is 4 feet down. I'm not gonna mention names, everybody knows what I'm talking about, yes. And they're allowed to drip their water for
Well,
6 months.
I believe if it was 4 feet, we wouldn't be having the conversation.
Right,
I
exactly.
think it's 2.
and I thought there was some sort of solution that was put up that we just need to talk about who's gonna pay for the
Right,
install for that.
Yes.
And, we talked about that, I think, last meeting, and
Yeah.
my thought was, the town put it in, it should have been put in when the meter was put in. And
Yeah.
that's my thoughts, so that's something we need to
Yeah.
go over with Daryl.
But again, we need to catalog all of these special circumstances.
Yeah, I think we're moving forward.
Yeah, I think so, but
How do you propose, and who do you propose does the catalog?
Yeah. I think.
I don't know
Because, I mean-
anything about the water department.
I understand that, but like, it's gonna be, if they're, Kylie was mentioning today, in the specific issue we just discussed, there's nothing, there's very little information captured in our town records. So, like, where are we, other than hearsay or things popping up, how are we
Well,
gonna find?
we have those deeded easements.
Yes.
So those are filed,
Yeah,
but
so are we gonna read them all?
I don't think you have to read them all. I don't know how many customers are on the system,
Are we just talking?
450 or something?
I don't have
Are we
a number
talking
in my
water,
head.
are we talking everything?
Yeah.
What,
That's the
You
only
know-
thing, water and sewer.
well, I mean, there could be some street deals. Cause I believe, I mean, I think that some of those have happened in the past.
We've got garbage where we're not gonna pick
No,
up garbage because,
So I mean, I'm just asking, like, where are we, are we talking strictly water and sewer, or are we talking broader than that?
Well, that's because that's what we're aware of right now. I
Okay.
mean, I don't know what other, we're reacting to a complaint.
we're reacting, but, I mean, are we gonna know about this coming into a select board position? Even being in here a year, you don't know everything.
No,
So it's something that when we get the information, we have to research and
and then we,
move forward with it. It's, even if it was cataloged, we would still have to research.
Right. But when you identify issues, you investigate them.
Right.
I'm just saying, it's,
That's what we're doing.
So what is your suggestion to, look for these issues?
I think there's some history, you might be aware of some of the deals. I'm sure there are some notations in select board minutes from past years. I don't know, people just don't have a special arrangement. I'm not saying you gotta read War and Peace to find out who's violating the water policies, but I'm just saying
I think
that,
as we're improving things, I think we're finding these issues and we're fixing them as we're coming along to them. Or when people complain about them, I don't think there's really much more we can do than now, unless somebody has 1,000 hours, they just wanna blow on trying to do research on something, they may not go
And-
anywhere.
that's fine, I'm just saying,
I don't know where there'd be I don't know where there'd be a good starting point.
Yeah, I agree. Other than, reading through the minutes, from the start and, do we do that? No. We use that and,
I mean, I don't know what your definition of special deals is. I mean, I did the billing, collecting the water for
Mhm.
10 years, and frankly, there were no special deals.
well, what
The
about?
one that we're talking about on Elm Street,
Mhm.
again, depending on what your definition of a special deal was, this was done for a reason, because the water line couldn't be 4 feet underground. Were there other ways that could have been handled? Possibly,
Mhm.
but there was a reason it was done the way it was, and
Are
I
there-
guess I wouldn't categorize that as a special deal. And as far as
Well,
there being
I would like
other
to,
arrangements where people were not required to pay or didn't pay the same rate anybody else paid, there were none. There were
Okay.
none.
well, I'm just wondering if there's other occasions of, you don't think of it as a special deal, but, I think it's a special deal. I have to do things to heat portions of my home rather than let my faucets run, okay? And I could just as easily do that, because I
Theirs
have,
aren't freezing inside the house, they're freezing in the ground.
Yes.
I understand
Outside the
that,
house that
but
they can't heat.
they cure it by running the water in the house.
Yeah,
And
that's what I do.
technological advances are such that, the changes could have been made over the years, whether it's insulating or whatever. And I'm just saying that,
maybe we should go back and fix it now and get rid of it.
well, I don't think we fix it. It's on his property. And
Who put it in?
I have no idea.
we put in the meter, right?
We put it in the meter, did we put the pipe into the meter?
I don't know.
Alan, do you know if we put the pipe into the meter? Or did they hire somebody and have a plumber or whatever come and do all the piping?
From my understanding, I believe a plumber came in and installed meters,
Initially, right?
Yes.
Right,
but we weren't metered before, so yes, they let the water run, and there must have been a base rate at the time, but then we start metering, well, you know,
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Shows up.
Yep.
I don't like to pay, well, it's a different rate. You don't pay for your neighbor's water like you pay for your neighbor's trash.
Right,
So,
exactly, and I pay enough for my water.
I just, now, I'm fine with it, I'm just saying that, and people will tell you up and down that I get free water. I don't know where that comes from, but people accuse me of it all the time. And I don't, in fact, I pay 2 different rates, cause I pay commercial and I pay residential.
Right,
And, anyway, it's neither here nor there, I
Well,
just.
Again, it goes to, as we identified, with
Yeah.
Andy has, you know, when we started this conversation, said, let's fix it. I mean, we're fixing it. I don't think it was at fault of the owner, or, you know, it was an identified problem of ledge. And that was what it was at the time. I mean,
The
Yeah.
deal that's in place now is one that's been there forever.
Yeah.
I mean,
So we're,
But they're not paying any additional usage charges at all?
that was. the
They're
deal
paying
that was
base
made.
rates, and when the base rates changed, and you started paying from the first 1,000 gallons for your water,
so by fixing this, we will be able to bill them for what they're metered, because this will be before the meter and it will take care of the water issue. So by doing so, we're curing what has been in place for some time.
or even billing. The town clerk got a lot of grief for billing them something. What is this? I don't pay usage, cause I run my water
at our
during the
direction.
6 months.
At our
I
direction.
guess, yeah, but, and apparently, they're saying, it's not an issue for me to pay something, but don't change the rules without telling me. So, maybe that's the solution, but, I mean, you're the water sewer guy, wouldn't you like to have a few extra bucks?
I wanna be fair,
Yeah.
you know, I don't, you know, I think we've beat this enough.
Okay.
I think everyone pretty much has their opinions.
I say we fix it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
Let's, let me start another fire. Renting municipal parking spots,
I'm still for it.
I'm still for it.
I am too,
me too.
so.
I mean,
I didn't say anything.
Well, no, you sent that email that you
I
felt
thought
that we were
discussed
taking
this
advantage
last
of.
meeting.
and-
No.
Well, I mean,
It was just odd how
the
it all set
property
up.
was being flipped,
Yeah,
you know, they're coming to us for,
I don't think that was
have
the
we
original
talked
intent.
to, have we talked to the owner of the property since then?
No, I haven't.
I have. You
Uh,
have?
I have not.
I have, and I don't think it's what we think it is. You know, yes, if it sells, great, but I don't think that was his intention when he first approached us.
And it's
My
really not his
understanding-
intention
I
now.
think
No, he was approached by a real estate agent,
Yes.
and he said, you can try, but I don't think that's what he wants to happen.
Right.
So,
He's still trying to decide what he's gonna use the downstairs
Yeah.
for.
and even if it wasn't, if it's, you know, we still control the lease, you know, for the parking spots, which are critical to the building. You know, if something happened to that property that we were totally unhappy for, we still have some level of control.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, if it brings in a paying business of some kind, whether it be a bakery or distillery, I don't know, you
Tap
know,
room is what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Tap room, and also at one point they were talking about a gun shop, but
But-
they don't wanna step on other toes and.
but whatever, you know, it's still better for Richford overall.
Yes, yes.
I agree, and I just think we don't need to stand in the way. And my only concern would be planning commission or zoning administrator following up on the special conditions that the town is renting them these spots to comply with the permit for the
Right.
apartments. And it's gotta be very clear to any new owner that if they intend to rent the apartments, they need to have the parking spaces. And I don't know whose responsibility that is.
Well, you have tenant parking, tenant parking, tenant parking, and if they have company for 4 hours, they park in municipal parking.
No, I think.
No, no, no.
No,
What I'm saying
yeah.
is when it changes hands.
Changes hands.
How does the new owner, he might wanna put up a 4-space parking garage,
Well, that's why we write up the agreement between the property.
Year by
owner.
year.
but who is we don't verify real estate transactions.
No, it'd be their lawyer, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't know. I guess, lawyers miss a lot of things. It's weird in Vermont because they don't use title companies and things like that. But,
Just record the agreement, then the attorney will.
yeah, no, I understand that, but it would have to be very formalized. You came up with a document that we drew down off the internet. And, I think we should move forward on it. We shouldn't leave him hanging out there without his parking spots. And I think, I'm just concerned that if it's a planning commission issue, because they issue, or the zoning issue, because they issue the permits, it's gonna change hands, and it's not gonna be a change of use because the new owners are just coming in, and I'm concerned if the planning commission has a tickler file, for conditions on permits. Like, my building is a conditional use permit. Okay?
I don't,
As a.
what was the permit for? Because.
For mine?
No, for this one, you're kinda losing on that, because
They need
if
to
you
get it-
give them the 6 parking spots, they pay us $600 a month, or
No,
a
we give them
year,
4.
that's between us and them. Doesn't matter who owns the building, the lease kinda goes along with the building as long as the payment's being paid. That's not a permit from zoning or planning, has nothing to do with them.
In order for them to operate the apartments.
Yes,
The
they have to have
conditional
permission from
use,
zoning.
the
That's it.
conditional uses you gotta have, because of the bylaws, you have to have 2 spots per apartment. Okay? I'm the new owner and I come in and I'm not changing anything, and we just go to the new owner and say, hey, you owe us $400, or you owe us
No, that goes-
$10,000.
That goes on the lease, that goes on the
Yeah.
contract with the building.
And you can put,
I don't know that it does. How do they know that it does?
well, we
Like
can,
Alan said, you
Research?
gotta have well, no, but you have to have a special agreement that would go into the records, right? That indicated, that's the conditions of that permit.
I think you can Kylie was saying you can put an do you know much about this? You can put an attachment to the property, say
Yeah.
there's a lease tied, there's a lease tied to this, which, just for our future tracking purposes.
Just recording it,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you research that property, it's gonna be indexed
Yeah.
under
And once
that
it-
property.
And if somebody misses it later on, it was there at the time you researched it, it's still legally binding.
And
Yeah,
it would fall under zoning if it was missed, and yeah, you're leasing,
Okay.
apartments.
That's fine, I just don't want it to come that he does end up flipping the building. And then the new owner is all up in heat about, I don't want these parking spots here, I'm gonna offer a valet service. I don't know what he's gonna say, but if there's a requirement
Yeah.
for them to have it, which there is,
right.
I just wanna make sure that it's noted in the appropriate place so that it can be enforced. That's all. And if it's something that attaches to the deed, or if it attaches to, under the current use or the special conditions that the permit was issued. And my question would be, who follows up on that? Is it a planning commission thing because they issued the permit? Or is it a select board thing because we're renting the parking spots?
I would think
Well-
it'd be a zoning.
Okay?
If somebody sells a property, they have to get a certificate of occupancy from John Libby certifying the property in compliance with zoning.
Right.
So if somebody was gonna buy this property, they would need a CO from
Right.
John.
Yeah.
And in order for him to issue that permit, he's gonna need to verify that they lease those parking spaces to be in compliance with their
With the down regulations.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just right up front.
well, they might just live on both floors. And then they don't need anything. I understand, I was the zoning administrator here, I understand the
Okay.
certificates of.
Other business, any more?
No, I'm good.
Okay, the only other thing I'm thinking is July 4th, which is the next due meeting date. This is a holiday. I will not be in town, so I was gonna propose that we cancel that meeting and move
It's
to,
a nice
what is it?
holiday weekend.
What's the next date on July? You wanna know?
I can't see that far away.
Well, it's a
That
May.
calendar's still on May.
July 11th, and then
July
another one.
18th.
Yeah, July 18th would be our next meeting. Do we want to just skip through go to that, or do you want to have another one sometime in July before that?
I'm okay with the 18th unless you think there's a lot going on.
You know, we could just, we go the 18th, and if for some reason we need a special meeting, we call a special meeting.
Yep,
Perfect.
sounds good.
Sounds good to me too.
All right, that's all I have for other business.
You wanted to go executive session,
We
huh?
have an executive?
Quick question, are we having a garbage meeting? And when is it?
Yes.
Because people have asked.
July 7th and July 14th.
You had said those, but, so they're confirmed.
They are now, Michael's putting it in a letter.
Perfect,
It's going out this week with the bills.
awesome, thank
And
you.
I will post it at other places for other members of the town to,
So 7 and 14.
Okay, perfect. Okay, that's it.
Alright,
Okay. Motion to go into executive?
I'll make that motion,
Are we gonna have any answers or anything?
potentially.
Potential.
Potential, okay.
then, sorry Jerry, you gotta stay. All right, I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Move into executive.
All right, you can make your motions, huh?
I make a motion to approve Jason Weatherby's selection of Matt Irons as Assistant Road Commissioner
I'll second it.
With
with,
a dollar pay increase
I think
per hour?
that's standard, yes.
No such,
Well,
yeah,
yes, with the dollar an hour that's been associated.
okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hear none, motion pass. Get a motion to,
Motion to adjourn.
Ah.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye.